Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a totally fascinating paradox that's hiding right in plain sight within official government data. Think about it. What actually happens when traditional life milestones kind of hit a brick wall, but our deep human need for connection finds an entirely new avenue? Well, we're going to explore a massive shift in the very fabric of our society. This is really a story about how we define the modern household when the old blueprints just don't apply anymore.
It's pretty wild when you collide demographic data with agriculture and animal registries. Together, they highlight one profound, undeniable shift in how we fundamentally define a modern family. We've got two distinct data sets here that, on the surface, seem to have absolutely nothing to do with each other. One tracks human populations and the other tracks agriculture. But put them together, they expose a deep, deep cultural transformation.
Part 1. The Global Fertility Crisis and South Korea's Reality. Let's dive right in.
Okay, to really understand this paradox, we first have to set the stage with the global baseline. Right now, the OECD average fertility rate sits at 1.58. Across the board, advanced economies are seeing this number steadily drop. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development tracks this globally, and let me tell you, it's a trend that policymakers have been agonizing over for years. This baseline is absolutely crucial because it tells us that shifting away from traditional family expansion isn't just some isolated quirk. It's a shared reality across so many developed nations, driven by changing economic pressures, new career paths, and shifting personal priorities.
But wow, that global average really pales in comparison to South Korea's reality. According to KSEST data, South Korea's rate has plummeted to a historically low 0.72. Just let that sink in for a second. 0.72. This isn't just a minor dip, it's practically a demographic cliff. This data from Statistics Korea gives us this stark microscopic look at a massive macroeconomic phenomenon. It represents the absolute sharpest edge of the global fertility crisis. And it really begs the question, how does a society even function, and what shifts inside its culture when the traditional family unit shrinks at such an accelerated pace?
The COSTAT data paints a really clear, impartial picture for us. Emptying cribs are directly tied to fewer traditional marriages. We aren't just looking at fewer babies being born, right? Young adults are delaying or just completely opting out of the traditional marriage pathway altogether. These two metrics are intimately linked, and they represent a huge structural shift away from historical norms of household formation. Both of these statistics are moving downward in tandem, creating this massive vacuum in our traditional concept of the home.
Moving on to Part 2, the companion animal pivot and filling the void. Nature and human society, for that matter, abhors the vacuum. Our fundamental human drive to nurture hasn't just magically evaporated, just because the economic conditions for having kids have changed. So, if the cribs are empty, what exactly is absorbing all that time, that disposable income, and that deep-seated desire for companionship? Seriously, what is filling up our living rooms? Well, this brings us to a massive, surprising pivot in our explainer today.
The answer is actually hiding right there in the language used by the Agriculture Ministry, MAFRA. Notice how they officially define them not just as pets, but as companion animals. That linguistic shift is a real game changer. It elevates them from just being mere property to being integral companions that fulfill a vital social role. Think about it. A pet is something you own, maybe an animal that lives out in the backyard. But a companion is someone you share your life with. It's a term that perfectly captures their elevated status in the modern household.
When you put KOSTAT's steep demographic decline right up against the explosive surge in companion animal registrations from MAFRA, the whole narrative just clicks into place. The energy, the love, the resources that previous generations might have directed toward raising a large family, that's all being distinctly redirected. We are literally trading baby strollers for pet strollers. It's not just some quirky coincidence. The data points to a direct sociological substitution.
And this upward trend just builds and builds year over year. It's rapidly filling the void left by shifting traditional family planning, creating a massive, booming economic industry in the process. We're talking premium veterinary care, specialized diets, even companion animal daycares. The growth in this sector perfectly mirrors the exact downward trajectory of the fertility rates we were just talking about. It is an incredible representation of an entire society just completely reallocating its nurturing resources. The growth here is robust, it's officially tracked, and honestly, it shows absolutely zero signs of slowing down.
Which brings us to Part 3, redefining the family and the modern household.
Now, why this really matters to you and what you should take away from this explainer is that human connection isn't disappearing at all. It's just adapting. We are witnessing a massive structural shift from traditional family expansion to the embrace of companion animals. The human art's capacity for love hasn't shrunk one bit. We're simply finding adaptable ways to build families that actually fit the modern climate. So whether you're a policymaker, an urban planner, or literally just someone observing the changing dynamics of your own neighborhood, recognizing this shift is absolutely vital for understanding the modern human experience. I want to leave you with a rather provocative thought to consider about the future of our social fabric. If the modern family is increasingly defined by companion animals rather than children, how does that fundamentally change our cities? How will our workplaces, our healthcare systems, and our social safety nets need to evolve to support this new reality? The numbers from KStat and MAFRA have shown us exactly where we are heading. The big question now is whether our societal structures are truly ready to welcome this entirely new definition of the family. Thank you so much for exploring the data with me today in this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning the numbers around you.